Hi there, and welcome to the Alpha Male 2.0 podcast. I am Caleb Jones. I make a high, I try not to say six-figure or seven-figure. I'll just say high location-dependent income while dating multiple attractive women, and I help men like you how to do the same thing. And the number one reason why most of you are not taking action on the things you want to take action on, if that's to start an Alpha 2.0 business, if that's to move out of your country, if that's to improve your woman life, if that's to actually get laid, if that's to get an OLTR or multiple MLTRs, if that's to improve the quality of women that you're dating or what have you, if that's to leave your wife, and I'm not making a joke about that. Some of you guys are in that scenario. You want to leave your wife, but you don't know how. The number one reason why most of you don't do that is this thing called procrastination. And in this podcast, I'm going to go through why you procrastinate and what the cure is. Now, I have worked with, over the course of my business career, starting when I was literally 18 years old, that's when I entered the work world, I have worked with hundreds of different corporations and organizations. I have coached with hundreds of different people, executives, and also just people from the Alpha 2.0 community, men and women both though. I worked with a lot of people, a lot of different industries, a lot of different contexts, and I have a pretty good feel for why people procrastinate because of my experience in this, including myself back in my 20s when I used to procrastinate. And I think there are several reasons that contribute to why people procrastinate. And procrastination, if you don't know what that means you're putting off doing the things you know you need to do to get the results you want in your life that are improvements to your life. While I think there are several reasons, I think there is one overarching reason, which is the biggest reason by far, and it's a reason I have mentioned before. I'm going to discuss this podcast, and that is you are too comfortable. Now, I've said this before, but let me go into detail about what that means when I say that. Because you can say, I'm not comfortable. I hate my fucking life. I'm not comfortable. I haven't had sex in 8 months. I'm not comfortable. I hate my country and I want to move out and I have no location in England. I'm not comfortable. My life fucking sucks. And I still procrastinate, Caleb. Right. So let me describe what I mean when I say you're too comfortable. Too comfortable. And I remember feeling feelings like this myself many years ago when I was a much younger man. These feelings I have not felt in many decades because I reoriented my brain and set a hard mission. And I do a lot of things in my life to make sure that I'm constantly motivated. But I remember feeling these feelings, and I have talked to many of you who have these feelings. And this is what it means when I say you're comfortable. It means that you are saying to yourself, or at least subconsciously, in your subconscious mind, the back of your head, you are saying, or your brain is saying to you, my life sucks, but it doesn't suck that bad. That's what comfortable means. Yeah, it sucks that I haven't had sex with a woman in 8 months, but I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, I'm playing some cool video games right now. It's not that bad, and I got some pretty good porn. I mean, it's not that it sucks, but it's not that bad. Or, yeah, I hate that I'm stuck in Canada or stuck in the United States or stuck in the UK because I didn't set up a location-dependent business like Caleb warned 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 13 years ago. Yeah, it fucking sucks, and I wish I could move somewhere else. But it's not that bad. I mean, I live in a pretty good part of town, and I live with some roommates, and it's not too expensive to live here, and it's not that bad. Or it sucks being poor and not be able to buy a cool car or travel the way I want or buy cool clothes or buy a really cool house. But it fucking sucks. But I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, Elon Musk. I mean, he works like 14 hours a day and sleeps on his factory floor, and at least I don't have to do that. So, I mean, it sucks. My life does suck and it pisses me off, but it's not that bad. And so that voice compels you to not take action. Because if you were the opposite, if you said, my life does suck and it's bad and it's fucking unacceptable, the odds are much higher. They're not 100%, but they're 80, 90% that you would take action. Right? So comfortable doesn't mean you like your life and you think everything is perfect and everything is fine. That's not what comfortable means. Believe me. And a lot of people screw this up. They think comfortable literally means comfortable. Like you're sitting on your lazy boy in your cozy little blankie, watching your favorite TV show, having a cup of coffee or, a cup of hot chocolate or some beer or whatever the fuck. It's and you just feel great and, I'm so comfortable. No. In this context, that's not what comfortable means. Comfortable means you hate your life and it fucking sucks. But there's that little voice in the back of your head saying, well, it's not that bad. The times in my life that I have taken action to improve my condition, and it was action I didn't want to take because I was lazy or scared or wasn't in the mood or what have you. And also other people, when they take the action to make the changes in their life they need to make, when they don't really want to take the action because they don't feel like it that day, the things they have in common, the thing I had in common with these people is that I wasn't comfortable. I was uncomfortable. I didn't like where I was, and where I was painful. See, there's a difference between my life is painful and my life sucks. Most people's lives suck. That's the norm today. We live in a collapsing Western society. We've just entered into a dark age. Most people's lives suck. That's the norm now, okay? But just because your life sucks doesn't mean you're in pain. When you're in pain, it hurts and you don't like it. You're like, oh, I don't like this. Get me out of here. That's what pain is. Like when you jump into a freezing cold pool, you're like, oh my God. And your entire body, your entire nervous system is saying, get the fuck out. This is horrible. This is awful. I hate this. That's pain. And so when you're in a state of pain, you are much more likely to take action. So I'll give you my examples. And I have many of them, but I'll try to give you the ones I think are the most relevant. So, and I've written articles about this. When I was a little kid, I grew up in a family that we weren't poor. That's overstating it. But when I was little, now by the time I was a teenager, my dad had a little more money. But when I was poor, we lived in an extremely financially strapped household. My dad was the single breadwinner and he had to support a family of 7. He was a low-income worker supporting a family of 7. He was the last generation of men who were actually able to do that because today's man who is a low-income earner can't even support himself. He needs a roommate. But back in the 70s when I was little, early 80s when I was little, he was able to do that, but barely. And I hated it. It wasn't that I was just uncomfortable. I hated every minute of it. I hated not having the toys that I wanted to have and not having the bike that I wanted to have. Now, interestingly, my other siblings didn't really care. So it's a fascinating concept of nature, nurture, because we had both the same nature and the same nurture, and we had radically different personalities about that. They didn't seem to mind at all, but I fucking hated it. And I complained about it all the time to my parents. Why aren't we rich? How come we don't have money like so-and-so's family and so-and-so's family? My other problem that exacerbated this problem was that I was sent to a Catholic school when I was a little kid. So my parents had just enough money to send the 2 oldest of their 5 children to Catholic school, myself and one of my sisters. And this is back when Catholic schools were a lot less expensive than they are now. Again, this is like late 70s, early 80s. And because I went to the Catholic school, I was friends with some kids whose parents had money. And I would go over to their house and I would freak out at all the money these kids had. Matter of fact, I've talked about this before. I went over to a kid's house. His name was Barry when I was a little kid. And he was showing me around his house. It's this very nice, 2-story house, much nicer than the house we had. And we walked past a bedroom and the door was cracked open. And I said, what's this room? Because he didn't introduce this as, this is my bedroom. This is my sister's bedroom. I said, what's this room? He goes, oh, that's the toy room. And I said, the toy room? You have a room for your toys? And he looked at me funny and goes, yeah, don't you? I'm like, no. When Christmas comes, I get 3 Christmas presents. That's it, because my mom can't afford to buy Christmas presents for us. You have a whole room? So I opened the door, and I'll never forget this. I was probably, 7 years old at the time. I opened the door, and sure as shit, it's 3 walls of bookshelves covered in toys. And not just toys, it was the expensive toys that I wanted to buy in the 80s that my parents couldn't afford. Like the Star Wars AT-AT, the Imperial Walker, and the Millennium Falcon, and the Death Star playset, and the Snow Speeder, and all these expensive things that back then were like $50. Back in the early 80s, $50, that was a lot of money. You're like, holy shit, $50? It was full of these things. And I shrieked with joy and I ran and played those toys. And when I came home that night back to my parents' house, my house, I was furious. I was so upset. I'm like, why don't we have this kind of money? And I could do a whole podcast just on that, on why my dad didn't have the money that Barry's dad had and how that forms a lot of political opinions today in terms of jealousy and not being aware of basic economics. But I digress. The point is, I was very, very unhappy. It was less than comfortable. And when I moved out of my house at age 18, because I got the fuck out of there as soon as I could move out. As soon as I could move out of my house, I moved the fuck out. At age 18, in the middle of a recession, which was the early 1990s, that's when all the right sizing and downsizing began. And immediately I was poor again. I've talked about this many times before. I had days where I couldn't put gas in my car. I paid my electric bill and all my utility bills 3 and 4 months late. It was awful. And I hated it. It wasn't just like, well, this sucks. I hate this, but it's not that bad. No, I was in pain. And I said, I can't live like this. I must have money. I'm going to go insane if I don't get the money. And so I got my ass to work. And within a few years, I was making a 6-figure income in 1990s dollars with no college degree and no high school diploma. I didn't have shit. No people skills, no marketable skills. Within a few years, I was making that kind of money. Why? Because I was in pain and I hated it. Now, fast forward to the year 2007. Okay. I'm just getting out of divorce. I'm 35 years old. And I just spent 10 years in a marriage where I had sex 2 to 3 times a month. Even just saying that makes me shiver to death. I want to jump off a cliff just by me saying that. And that's the life that I live. Now, some of you think that's a lot. For me, that's nowhere near enough. I need sex 3 times a week for minimum happiness. 2 is okay. 3 is ideal. 3 times a week. It was 2 or 3 times a month. And that was the system in my first marriage, monogamous, of course, where we would have sex once a week on the week she didn't have her period. So I could reasonably expect 3 times a month. Oh, to a woman who, I don't like to say anything bad about anybody, to a woman who was not that super attractive when she started gaining weight in our marriage. Initially, she was very pretty, but women in monogamous marriages, they get bigger and bigger. That's just the model. And I did too, by the way. I got bigger and bigger myself. So I'm not just picking on her. But that's the context. That's where I came out of. When I got divorced, I sat down and I said, I cannot live like this anymore. I cannot live where I'm only having sex a few times a month with women who are average looking. I will not do that because it was painful for me to not live a lifestyle where I was having much more sex with women who were hot. It was like, boy, it would be neat to have sex with a hot girl because that's a category a lot of you are in. Boy, that would be really cool to have sex with a girl who looks like Kim Kardashian or whatever celebrity is supposed to be really hot right now. It always changes. Whatever that is. That's being uncomfortable. I was in pain. I hated it. So I got on the dating sites. A lot of you know my story way back when I was Black Dragon a billion years ago. I got on the dating sites. I went into the pickup artist world. I started learning and experimenting and taking a lot of time and effort out of my day and out of my weeks to get good with women. And within 2.5 years, I was a guru level dating guy. It worked because I was in pain, not because I was uncomfortable, not because it sucks I'm never getting laid or it sucks I'm never getting a hot girl, but it's not that bad. I mean, I got porn. No, here's the other thing too. I've mentioned this before. I don't like porn. I'm not super into porn. Maybe that helped me over the years because I didn't have that outlet. I'm not saying I've never seen porn and never watched porn. Oh, fuck, I'm a man, I'm a human being. But I'm not into porn. I don't like porn. I need to have sex for real. It's another reason why I don't like strip clubs. I don't like going to strip clubs. Every single time I've been to a strip club, it's only been a handful of times in my life, I've been with a woman who wanted to go because women like strip clubs. I don't like them. I don't like watching sex and watching sexual things. I like to have sex. That's me. But that, I think, directly contributed to the pain that I felt where I had to make a change in order to be happy. Now, I'll give you another example from my life. I've mentioned this before. Several years ago, 2018, summer of 2018, I had to make some decisions about, do I just ride out this income, until my 50s and then switch into phase 2 of my life? Or do I push down on the accelerator and go for the big money? And there were pros and cons to both. The advantage of just relaxing was I could just kick back my work hours and just enjoy my life and travel and vacation and make a nice location-dependent 6-figure income, which is what I had back then. And I wouldn't have to work too hard. Pretty cool. But I would never hit the big money, the big exciting money that was kind of exciting to me. But the downside would be I'd have to work really hard. I'd have to push myself for many years to get to the big money. And it took me several years to make that decision. I had to actually consult with a lot of my mentors and coaches and things like that. And I decided to go for the big money. And there are several things I have done in my life. I can't tell you what they are because they have to do with my finances. But there are several things I've done over the past few years to purposely put myself in a state of pain. Okay? because I need to have the motivation to do the things I know I need to do, even if I don't feel like it that day, even if I'm tired that day, even if I'm not in the mood that day, even if I feel lazy that day, even if I feel sick that day, even though I didn't get enough sleep last night, even though I'm busy with the women in my life, and even though I got to lose weight, and all the excuses you guys fucking use in terms of why you're not taking action in your life, I have to take that action. So I've gotten very good at putting myself into states of pain to make sure I don't procrastinate. Now, am I saying I never procrastinate? No, I'm a human being. It happens. But that's the exception to the rule. I don't procrastinate very often. If I don't get things done, it's usually because I'm spending my time on some other big project in my life. So this year in particular, there are a few things in my business that didn't get done because of my 5 flag stuff I was working on. And that also was true last year as well. So that's the only reason I don't get shit done. It's not because I'm procrastinating, because I'm busy doing something else, which is also important to me. That's, as they talk about quality problems, what Harry Brown talked about in his book. So a surefire way, or at least near surefire way, to get out of a state of procrastination is 2 things. Number 1, admit that you are too comfortable. And you know what comfortable means now. It means you're saying my life sucks, but it doesn't suck that bad. I mean, it's not that big of it. You're thinking that, and that is poison to you. Yes, it's Caleb, you're being a little dramatic. No, it's not. I've done videos about this over at Sovereign CEO. We are living in a collapsing civilization in terms of the Western world collapsing right now, right before our eyes. We have entered into a dark age. The entire world has entered into a dark age that's going to last several decades. This is happening right now. You cannot be average and get out of this alive. Now, I'm exaggerating on that. You get my point. You must take these actions. Alpha Male 2.0 and Sovereign CEO were once options. They are now mandatory for most guys if you want to survive and thrive in terms of the Western collapse in the dark age, which has already arrived. You have to. I mean, that really is it. The only other option you have, as I've talked about in Sovereign CEO, is to blow your brains out and make over $10 million and have no freedom for 20 plus years and do all that stuff. You could do that, I guess. Okay, that's the only other option you've got. That or it's Alpha 2.0, bro. You have to do this. You don't have a fucking choice anymore. So that's why this thought of, oh, it's not that bad. That's cancer. That's poison. You got to get rid of that thought as soon as you can. Number 1. Number 2, put yourself in a state of pain. Do whatever you need to do to either put yourself physically, mentally, or logistically in a state of pain where if you don't do these things, you're going to continue the pain. See, right now you're not feeling pain. You're just feeling disappointment and frustration. That's not pain. Pain. Get into a state of pain where your current life hurts. It hurts to not have the woman life you want. It hurts to not have the money you want. It hurts to not have the international mobility you want. Not just, I really wish I had this. It fucking hurts. It hurts. I'm telling you, I would love to sit here and tell you that I'm successful in life because I'm just this big badass who just knows everything and plows through and works really hard and is tough. And there's some aspects of truth in that. But that's not why. You know why? The number 1 reason I've been successful in my woman life and my financial life is because it fucking hurt to not have those things. That is also why I have not gotten the body fat down as low as I should have over the past several years, because it hasn't hurt. It hasn't hurt. So what I've done lately in the past few months is get to a point where it hurts to weigh what I weigh right now. It fucking hurts. So now I'm taking actions to make sure this problem gets fixed. Will I succeed? I don't know. My odds are good. But that's my point, because I've been procrastinating on that to a degree. So we all procrastinate on something. Stop being comfortable. Do what you need to do. And well, Caleb, how do I do that? It depends on where you're comfortable. I don't know where you're comfortable. I don't know what that part of your life is that you hate so much that you wish you had other things. I don't know if it's a woman problem. I don't know if it's a financial thing, a business thing, a 5 flags thing, something else that is on that list. Maybe it's a physical thing. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a physical appearance thing. I don't know. But whatever that thing is, do whatever you can do to make it so that logistically in your life and or physically in your body and or mentally in your head, where this fucking hurts. And when it hurts, you'll probably start to take action, because you'd rather take action than to feel the hurt. That's how it works. This is a very big topic, obviously. If you have more questions on this topic, please let me know in the comments, or you can always send me an email, theonlyblackdragon@gmail.com. And if you want me to continue to talk about this in future podcasts, I can. But I'm telling you what the problem is. This is the problem. It's no mystery. You are too comfortable and you're not feeling enough pain. Start feeling more pain, and then you'll start taking action and getting results. That's it. I'll see you next podcast. Have fun. Bye.